Yeah. Are we ready, Artie?
Ready.
Okay. Call the order of the May 20th, 2013 meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Financing Authority. Roll call for the Glendale Council.
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Jarian.
Here.
Caro.
Here.
Sinanian.
Here.
Mayor Weaver.
Here. And for the Financing Authority?
Authority members: Friedman.
Here.
Jarian.
Here.
Caro.
Here.
Sinanian.
Here.
Mayor Weaver.
Here. Here we have your report.
Agenda for the May 28, 2013 joint public meeting of the City Council and the Financing Authority was posted on Thursday, May 23, 2013 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Item before you is Director of Administrative Services Finance regarding Bank of America's proposal to purchase Glendale variable rate demand certificates of participation related to the 2000 police building project. 1A is council resolution approving proposal and all necessary related documents, certificates, and actions. 1B is authority resolution approving proposal and all necessary related documents, certificates, and actions.
Mr. Chua.
Yes, sir. We have an item before you. In this day and age, good news is a relative term. And so to the extent that we have an obligation for the cost of the police building across the street, we have to obviously repay that. The good news here is that in seeking permanent long-term financing, or at least a longer-term refinancing of that obligation, we have been able to secure outstanding credit and terms that Mr. Elliott will outline for you now.
It's as Scott mentioned, it's not often I get to bring good news to the dais, but this is good news. I wanted to go through the background of the COPs. They were issued originally to fund the acquisition of the land, construct the new police facility, and the new parking facility. It's a interesting financing. We had a lot of cash, but I guess the decision was made at the time to keep the cash in-house, borrow the money. The cash was then put into the COP or the police project fund that we just got done talking about in terms of a debt service fund. It was then, the cash was sitting there to be used. The interest earned was then supposed to make the principal and interest payments. It did so for a long time, but as interest rates dipped, we haven't been able to earn enough, so the cash has been eroded to the point where we're gone from $44 million down to about $33 million, including our $5 million debt service fund. The structure that we have currently is certificates of participation, COPs. The principal originally, as I said, was $64.2 million. Our current outstanding balance is $50.7. After our June 1st payment, it will be $48.9 million. Interest rate now currently is 0.21%, and that has gone up and down over the 13 years from as low as 0.1% to 7.75%, where it spiked during the credit crisis. It typically has been quite low, however, but resets every week. There's a lot of variability in the rate. In addition to not only making the interest payments that go up and down every week, we make the principal payments, but also there's other fees involved with the current situation. The standby purchase agreement, basically that's a fee that J.P. Morgan, our current provider, has charged us for if somebody doesn't buy the certificates every week, they are there to step in and buy them until they can be remarketed. So they charge us an annual fee for that. That fee for a long time was 0.2%. It got up to about 2.25 until July of 2009. Then when the economy tanked, credit went crazy, the fee went from 0.25 to 1.3, and that's quite a bit of money increase on the outstanding principal of about $50 million. We had that 1.3. We paid that 1.3 for a year. We then, at that time, looked for alternative financing. The credit market was still pretty upside down, so we were able to negotiate down the 1.3 annual standby purchase agreement fee from the 1.3 down to 0.76%, and that started in July 2010. When we got downgraded just recently in January, that bumped up to 0.96%. So in addition to the interest, we have this standby purchase agreement amount that we pay, along with a lot of other fees, trading fees, remarketing fees, and that's about another 0.14 or 0.145% on an annual basis. So our historical all-in cost on the COPs thus far has ranged anywhere from 0.445 to 9.2% over 13 years. Big variability. This is a real high margin, but that was there only a short time when the credit market went wacko a few years ago. Keep in mind that all-in cost, and that's kind of what we based our decision on. So when we knew we were facing the expiration of this structure that we have in July, we started in January looking at alternatives. We sent out an RFI, request for information, got proposals back from 7 different banks and providers in 11 different formats, including letter of credits, variable rate direct purchases, a lease purchase, and then public offerings, and basically a traditional bond issue. Lease purchase, fixed rate, but then they take title to the property. A lot of strings involved with that, and we'll talk about how the alternatives looked. So when we went through all the proposals, we had Suzanne Harrell, our often used financial advisor, review all the proposals with us. The letter of credit ranged from anywhere from 0.14 to 0.5. Commitment fees of 0.4 to 0.63, remarketing fees 0.065, the variable direct purchase, variable rates of 70% of LIBOR, that's an index, with fixed credit spreads anywhere from 0.4 to 0.45. The lease purchase, the fixed rate financings, we got rates as low as 2.92. That's pretty good for if you were comparing it to a fixed rate mortgage, but clearly a much, much higher interest rate than what we could get on the variable rate market. Public offering came back. Again, if we were going to do a traditional bond refinancing, we'd have to produce a new OS. There's a lot of other fees, underwriter fees of about $300,000 to $400,000, issuance fees, and the rates were still over 3% in terms of that avenue. It really forced the decision to look at the variable rate, and we ended up choosing and recommending to you the Bank of America proposal. The term is 3 years, starting this July. And the reason why we're doing it now is we have to give notice by June 15th that we're terminating our agreement on July 15th, so that's why we wanted to bring it back to you as soon as we could. The interest rate is, at this point, is set at 70% of the 1-month LIBOR, and we'll get into what the total all-in cost is. Fixed credit spread of 0.440%. So that gives us an all-in cost of 0.54% on the $48.9 million. We are recommending we take the current reserve fund and pay down the principal $5 million when we go through this restructure. And then with the existing $28 million, we'll utilize that for interest and principal payments for quite a few years to come. The difference in terms of cost savings, the 0.54 all-in cost to our current structure of 1.315 is it's 77 basis points, 77.5 basis points less. That equates to about a $985,000 savings estimated over 3 years, assuming we have a rate that's similar to the LIBOR, which is currently 0.2%. So with that, our recommendation is to do the 3-year agreement with Bank of America. Alec Beagleson is here from Bank of America if you have any questions about the agreement.
Mr. Quintero.
Well, I certainly think it's a good idea, but I guess my question is, could we take those same terms and shop around Wells Fargo, J.P. Morgan?
We did, and that's it.
Was the best.
Yeah, this was absolutely the best, and credit to Zinda on my staff. She heckled with all the vendors a lot, and we got the initial rates we got. And credit to Bank of America, they went back to their to their folks and ground down the rate, and we started at quite a bit higher, but we spent a lot of time grinding these rates and proposals with Wells Fargo, and Bank of America came out on top in terms of where we are. So a lot of work went into that. Suzanne Harold did that on her behalf as well. She went to the banks and talked to them and looked at the different structures. So I think this is a really good opportunity for us to reduce our costs.
What do we do after 3 years?
Well, we'll look at where we are in the market. We'll do a reevaluation again. Likely, we'll stay in the variable rate market. Everybody seems to think fixed rate's going to start trending up, so it probably would make sense that we would stay on a variable. We have 17 years left on the debt, but we'll continue to look at if it makes sense to go to a fixed rate or a different structure. We do, I believe, have the option to switch to a direct purchase, a fixed rate with Bank of America if we so choose in that proposal. So a really good proposal on our behalf in terms of saving money and a lot of flexibility.
Mrs. Sinani?
Yes, Mr. Elliott, so the initial $44 million set aside has been eroded to $33 million.
Correct.
This deal, how will this deal impact the $33 million?
Well, we would use the $5 million to pay down the principal, so we'd go down to 43.9 starting July 15th. Then we would use the $28 million that's sitting in the debt service fund. It will earn interest. To the extent that we'll earn interest, it'll offset what we're paying, and then we'll use that cash to pay down the principal as the amortization goes forward. So give or take, there's probably 6-7 years worth of cash there to make the principal and interest payments, depending on what the interest rates are. That was something we had talked long about, our 5-year forecast. We know it's there.
Plugged in.
It will ramp it up over time to be able to take on this debt service payment.
So I guess what I was asking is, will the erosion of that fund continue?
Yes,
It
absolutely.
will, but
Absolutely.
at a slower pace?
It depends on the interest rate, but I think it will be at a lower pace because we're reducing our costs quite a bit.
Okay.
And we used to make some money off this.
Yes, that was the whole scheme. Was
COPs.
We had enough cash set aside to earn interest. We were actually making more than we were paying, and that was the whole idea. It's kind of flipped itself on its ear at this point.
And has anyone spoken to our treasurer about what the prospective yields would be on our investments?
Well, I mean, in terms of what he's making is certainly below 1%. So there'll be a little bit of a margin in terms of what we can make. But when we're using the cash to pay down the principal, it'll still erode the total cash. It won't make enough to cover both principal and interest.
Have you consulted with him?
We've mentioned it, but we haven't really talked about it in detail. I mean, I know what he makes in the portfolio. It's just not enough to amortize the principal piece of this debt.
Any other questions? Let's make a little comment. Historically, before any of you were here, when I first got on council back in '97, Ginger Bradberg and I were shown the location of the new police building, which was in the parking lot behind our conference room and city attorney's office, and out and across Isabel. Isabel was going to be closed. The news press office was across the street in an apartment building. And Ginger Bamberg and I we were both new. We said, no way. No, that's wrong. Put it in the one little parking lot we have and close off a street. So I don't know, we helped change to where it is now. And the next fight was COPs. Just remember, there was a lot of discussion, and it was not a unanimous vote to go to COPs, but in the end run, it made a good deal. Now
And
I'm
it
here
worked
to-
well.
Now I'm here to see the end of it.
Yeah. Well, we've got 17 years left, but it worked well for a long
I'll
time.
be around, but I'll be watching. I'll read the paper. Okay, other questions? There's a motion on 1A.
We'll move 1A.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Weaver.
Yeah, aye. And a motion on 1B?
Move 1B.
Second. Roll call.
Authority members Friedman,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Chair Weaver.
All right. Thank you for working at it, the three of you, and getting us a good deal all around, I hope. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn the city council?
So moved. Second.
Motion for the financing.
To adjourn finance.
We're adjourned at both.
Second.